to run our packaging and deployment a little bit differently than a lot of organizations in that we have the product manager is separate from the person responsible for packaging and deployment. My role is the liaison between the business area and that of the expertise of the product. And Tom's expertise is getting the product from my configuration preferences, what I would like to see on the desktop, into performing the necessary magic to actually get it to deploy on the desktop in that manner. So Tom and I work very closely during a deployment rollout in taking my wish list and turning it into reality. So that's the reason for the two-part presentation. Mine is to dive into the business area aspects of deployment, give a very short presentation on those, and then give a short demonstration on how to find various registry keys and stuff, so that way when I present to Tom, here's what I'd like to have. I've got all the information he needs in order to start packaging. He doesn't have to go and find all the registry information. He has it already for him and can immediately start work. So that saves him a lot of time and a lot of hassle, because Tom is not an expert in the product, but has become one over the last 3 or 4 distributions that we've done. So, continue on. Our names, typical slide. The agenda, introductions. We're going to go talk about packaging and deployment. That's the business part of it. I'm going to give a little demonstration on the registry entries, and then I'm going to hand it over to Tom to work on how do we actually build a package, and this is where the customization wizard component, along with other aspects, come into play to start from, here's my box of bolts and nuts and screws and wood, and here do I end up with a finished product. And then we'll open it up for some questions for as long as we have time. Before I start, I'd like to thank Dove Isaacs. A number of years ago, he gave a couple seminal presentations on reconfiguring Acrobat for a desktop environment, different from the way you download it from Adobe's website. I'm just giving him some credit. Keep in mind, though, that as the product has improved, the customization product has improved, when Microsoft has improved the operating system, the changes and things that Adobe has addressed in his presentations a number of years ago have become no longer valid. But I do want to give credit for Dove at least starting the genesis of all the work that we've been doing here at Hewitt with our deployment. So this is over how Hewitt did it. This isn't necessarily to say how you need to do it for your company, but at least it provides you, if you've never done this before, it provides you with a framework to get started with the deployment exercise. The big thing I cannot stress is understand your users, understand your customer, understand how they use the product on a day-to-day basis. That's how you're going to have a successful deployment. So, settings. There's lots of settings in Acrobat, Distiller, the desktop, Adobe PDF Printer. Not all settings need to be changed. Just because I will read this last paragraph, not every switch, lever, knob, or button needs to be flipped, poked, tweaked, tuned, twiddled, or frobbed in order to have a good distribution. Make sure that if you're going to make a setting change, that you understand the ramifications for that setting change for everybody. If it's a small subset that needs to do it, then you may want to consider having that has to have it, and it may negatively impact other areas, then you may want to write up a documentation for that team so they can make the change themselves. But if it's a setting that not everybody needs but is not going to negatively impact them, you may want to consider putting it in your base build so that way the team doesn't have to do it. Always, always, always test. Cannot stress this important enough how important it is to make sure you test not just on your desktop but also in a pilot environment with actual live users using it in day-to-day operations. So before you get started with the package, know what it is you need to set, and the only way to doing that is by actually having the product on somebody's desktop and having them play around with it and adjusting it and tweaking and tuning it. every step of the way, have a notebook, write your notes down, understand what it is you changed, why you made that little tweak, why did you make that little checkbox in comments, what was the purpose for doing that, and then that way you've got all your notes in one place when you go to the build. And again, over and over, wash, rinse, repeat. So, kind of what does it cost? What is a setting going to cost me if I make a change in the base build versus I make a change to having the users do it after deployment? Let's say I've got an install base of 5,000 people. Doesn't matter if it's Acrobat or Reader, Windows Vista, Windows 7,